All right, hey, Chad Wilson here, having my first rapid reaction video on behalf of the Two Chumps Football Podcast. Don't have Emil here with me, but I wanted to jump on and talk about the first round of the NFL Draft in 2024, a history-making draft. And if you're a guy like me that is more on the defensive side of the ball than anything else, of course, trained defensive backs, coached on the defensive side of the ball, man, this was a head scratcher for me in the first round of the NFL draft because a lot of history was made and it was not made on the defensive side of the ball. So what was the history that was made? First 14 picks off the board were on one side of the ball, offense. It is apparent, and this was happening before the NFL draft, that the NFL is going all offense. You saw it in the offseason. It started for me. I really noticed it when all of these safeties started getting released. And it seemed like we were marginalizing that position, safety, in the NFL, the same way that they did with running backs a few years back. So you started to see that. And then we're starting to notice just how much of the salary cap that quarterbacks are starting to get. As I pointed out in one of our shows earlier, that, a guy like Joe Burrow is making 21%. One player on a team of 55 is making 21% of the salary cap. So there appears to be this overdosing of quarterbacks in the NFL because it has been made, rather clear by both the media and some of the rules changes that have been happening with regards to when and where and how hard you can hit the quarterback, and then what defensive backs are able to do down the field in terms of coverage, how we've just adjusted the rules to really encompass in and bring in the low attention span fan who is not likely to hang around if a game is defensive in nature. If it's 17-14, 10-7 in the fourth quarter, they're probably gone. They're going to open up their Netflix or head somewhere else. So the NFL is really trying to grab those folks in. And we also have the whole fantasy football thing. That's a big part of why people watch the NFL. And so you need to have points there because it's really all about offense when you're talking about fantasy football. So the NFL has gone full bore in trying to get those folks in. And in response to that, teams are going all out on offense. And in my opinion, are really overreaching for quarterbacks. They're doing it in free agency. And now we're seeing them do it in the NFL draft with all of these quarterbacks that have been taken. So far as that is concerned, it's the first time that we have ever had 5 out of the first 10 picks in the NFL draft be quarterbacks. It's the first time that we've had in the NFL draft 6 out of the first 12 picks be quarterbacks. It is only the fourth time in the history of the NFL draft that the first 3 picks have been quarterbacks. And let's talk about the last few times that this has happened. And we're just gonna continue with history here. First time this happened was in 1971. Jim Plunkett, Archie Manning, Dan Pastorini. Only one of those guys can you say really had an NFL career that was worthy of a first round pick, and that was Jim Plunkett. And Jim Plunkett didn't even have that career with the team that drafted him. He was drafted by the New England Patriots. He eventually ended up winning a Super Bowl with the Oakland Raiders, or I believe it was the Los Angeles Raiders at the time. The next time we had 3 picks in the first 3 picks be quarterbacks was in 1999. Tim Couch for Cleveland, Donovan McNabb for the Philadelphia Eagles, and then Achilles Smith for the Cincinnati Bengals. Only one of those guys played in a Super Bowl, Donovan McNabb. I would say he's the only one that could say he had a career worthy of a top-of-the-line first-round pick, a guy taken in the first 3 picks there. Then the next time, we went 22 years later, and it was 2021, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. The jury's already out on that. If Zach Wilson or Trey Lance are going to do anything with an NFL career that would say they're worthy of a top 3 NFL pick, it's going to have to happen on the team that's not the original team that picked them, because both of those players already, it's only 2024, but both of those players are already off of the original team that made that pick. Only Trevor Lawrence has been able to get to a playoff game and win it, and he looks right now like he's going to be that one guy out of the top 3 that's going to get it done. So that brings us to 2024 and what happened last night in the NFL draft. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. History tells us only one of those guys is going to have a career worthy of a top 3 pick. Which guy is that going to be? I would love to hear your comments on that because that's what history has said. Only one of those guys. So who do you guys think that's going to be? I don't, I'm have made predictions before. I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to get into this a little bit more, but this is supposed to be a short video. Caleb Williams, you could argue, is the most talented player in this draft from a quarterback standpoint. However, I am not seeing the Chicago Bears being a team that's going to do what it is that Caleb Williams did when he was in college. And I have noticed in my 40 plus years of watching the NFL that what really matters in terms of a pick, especially when we're talking about quarterbacks, is a fit. Does the guy fit the team philosophy? Does he fit the what they're trying to do offensively? Does he fit the city? Does he fit all these things? And Caleb Williams is a guy that threw the ball around in college. I mean, for God's sakes, he was under Cliff Kingsbury as his offensive coordinator last year. And so he's now going to come into a Chicago football team that historically is a run first, play defense type of football team. They have a defensive coach in Matt Eberflus. What's going to happen there? Are they going to suddenly be a wide open team that's going to be able to take advantage of the talents of a Caleb Williams and make him comfortable? Or are they going to continue to be a run first, play defense team, and it's going to be a lot of play action passes and things of that nature, because that's what the history of the Chicago Bears is going to be. And so how do you predict how Caleb Williams is going to be in a system like that? You're literally taking a guy and you're going to have him do something absolutely new. Basically, this is going to be a new approach to playing quarterback for Caleb Williams, and it's going to be in the city of Chicago where they're anxious, eager, and they're probably going to be low on patience because you just drafted a guy in Justin Fields a few years ago. That didn't work. I'm not sure how that is going to work out, so I'm really iffy on that. Jaden Daniels is now going to a team in the Washington Commanders who have been a disaster of a franchise. They've not been able to do a whole lot of things right. However, I will say this, Daniels is going and playing in something that's going to be most similar to what it is he was doing at LSU, taking full advantage of his abilities to throw the ball around and then even use his legs some when need be, because he's going to be in a bit of a wide open passing attack because Cliff Kingsbury is going to be his offensive coordinator down there in Washington. So I would say right here, predictably, right now, here's what I'm predicting. He has a better chance of having at least a more solid start to his career with his team than a Caleb Williams. That's just what I'm throwing out there. And it's just about a fit. All right. He's going to be able to use his talents as a quarterback in the offensive system that they are going to have in place there. But as we know in the NFL, systems change. Coaches get fired, coordinators move in and out. But as it stands today, that looks like the best fit for me. Drake May going third to the New England Patriots. I don't know what the New England Patriots offense is going to look like. I have no idea. They don't really have a whole ton of talent on that side of the ball. So it's really hard for me to make a prediction there. I don't know what that's going to be. Here's a good thing, though, for the Patriots on that. Drake May is considered a project. He's not someone that, and, we could go on about, your third pick shouldn't be that. He should be a guy starting day one, but the Patriots have never been traditional in the way that they do anything. So Drake May considered to be a bit of a project. They do have Jacoby Brissett there, a guy who's played in this league. He's played for the Patriots. The staff is familiar with him. So there could be a much needed delay in Drake May coming there. And over the time that he's sitting and waiting, we can get a better idea of what New England's offense is going to be. But as it stands right now, I have no idea what that's going to be. So hard for me to project. So I was going to pick one guy out of those three because history says it's only going to be one guy that's going to have a career that's close to being worthy of being a top 3 pick. I would say right now, that's Jaden Daniels for the Washington Commanders. You guys can hit me in the comments and let me know what you think there, who you think is going to be the guy that's going to have the best career out of those 3. Here's what and here's some more history that was made. 23, All right, we know the first 14 picks were on offense. Out of the 32 picks, 23 were on the offensive side of the ball. Because here's what happens. When you're going to take that amount of quarterbacks, you also are now, you have to cater to that quarterback. You have to give him support or you will be vilified as a front office, as a coaching staff, if you don't do that. So in the case of the Chicago Bears, they went and picked up Rome Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington, to lend some support to their number one overall pick, Caleb Williams. Also in this draft, if you weren't drafting a quarterback, you were trying to support the quarterback that you have. And again, we're ODing on quarterbacks and offense in the NFL. So 23 of the 32 picks, over 66% of the first round was all offense. How about that? You had 4 quarterbacks taken in the first 8, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 12. 8 offensive tackles in the first round, and I'm not mad at that. If you're trying to lend some support to your quarterback, that's probably one of the best places that you can go with it. And I'm not here to dunk on wide receivers. Don't start forming this narrative that, hey, I coach defensive back, so I got a problem with wide receivers. Get that out of your head. You're probably best in trying to provide some protection for your quarterback first before you start running around trying to find weapons for him, because we all know if quarterback drafting isn't an exact science, so is wide receivers. You never know what you're getting there. Despite that fact, 7 wide receivers taken in the first round. This ties a record. So we OD'd on offense. So what are we saying? No more defense in the National Football League? I don't think that's what we're saying. I'm saying most teams, and of course, most of the teams don't make the playoffs. We get same franchises making the same mistakes year after year, and it's a copycat league. People do what's trendy. And a lot of times the guys that go against the grain are the ones that end up going deep into the playoffs and playing in that final game. So it seems the trend is offense. Here's what I think were the 5 best picks in that first round. And I'm going to start off with one on offense. Think Arizona, getting Marvin Harrison, getting a big target, getting a number 1 type receiver for their quarterback. Kyler Murray was probably a really good thing for them to do it. I like that it's a big target. Having watched Kyler Murray play in person in the NFL more than any other quarterback that I have witnessed, I've seen this guy play in person. A big target, fast target is probably a really, really good thing for him, given the kind of throws that he ends up having to make, the kind of throws that he likes to make. This is probably the best thing that could have happened for him. And if you're trying to support your quarterback with a weapon, I think that was probably the best marriage in terms of that in the first round. I love Philadelphia picking up a Quinyon Mitchell. I have said in the past, Philadelphia is where you go to die as a cornerback. Darius Slay aside, James Bradbury aside, the history there at cornerback has not been the greatest for the Philadelphia Eagles. What I like about this and the fact that it could be different is that Quinyon Mitchell is a guy that could do many things. He can play press, man-to-man. He definitely has shown in college that he can play off, read the quarterback, read routes, and play zone. And so there's a really good chance that he's going to be successful in Philadelphia, no matter what it is that they're trying to do there. We don't know what that is. I think Philadelphia at the end of the year probably played the worst defense that I have seen in a long time. They had no idea what they were doing back there, changed coordinators mid-season, and it was just a disaster. So we don't know what they're going to be defensively. However, with a guy like Quinyon Mitchell, who has a wide array of skill sets, this is a guy that's going to fit in probably no matter what they do there offensively. If they want to play zone, he can do it. If they want to play a bunch of press man, he's a guy that could do it. So that really does help them. You really can't go wrong a lot of times in the first round when you pick a center. That has been the most successful pick in the first round over the years in the NFL draft, and Tampa Bay went ahead and did that. They feel like they have their quarterback in Baker Mayfield, so they're in the business of supporting. They're not looking for a quarterback. They're trying to support their quarterback. And who better than to do that than a center, Graham Barton, out of Duke. Duke played great football. Barton, a solid football player. That is a low bustability pick. And so you got that with Graham Barton. Also like Detroit getting Terrion Arnold because they got a really, really good player from a really, really good school at a position that school really excels at. And they filled a need. They needed a quarterback. They didn't play well at that position last year, and we all know what happened with Cam Sutton in the offseason that led to his release. So definitely a need, and they're getting a good one there. Now, they've not had the greatest amount of success in recent history picking cornerbacks, but you know what? They've gone to Alabama in the past, and they've done that recently, and they've hit some home runs there. So they go back to where they feel like they can fill that need with a player that's going to understand and be able to do what it is that they want them to do. And I'm big on fit when it comes to this draft, so I think that's a good fit. And then finally, Jim Harbaugh comes in. People speculating he might take a wide receiver. You don't know Jim Harbaugh if you thought Jim Harbaugh was going to use a number 5 pick in the NFL draft to draft a wide receiver. You just have not been paying attention to who Jim Harbaugh is if you thought that that's what they were going to do. I do love the pick, left tackle Joe Alt. Again, what's the trend here in the NFL draft? You're either picking a quarterback or you're supporting your quarterback. And it's, out there that, the world feels Justin Herbert is one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. We are definitely going to find out here now as he's in with his second head coach. And what does that head coach do? He supports him with the big guy because Jim Harbaugh likes big guys and he likes to be physical. So we're going to be good in the run game by picking Joe Alt from Notre Dame, and he's going to be able to keep his quarterback upright. I think that was one of the best picks in the first round. Jim Harbaugh staying true to what it is that he is. And I'm noticing this right now. Antonio Pierce is now the new head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, and he has made it known that they're gonna be physical and they're coming to knock Patrick Mahomes around. You've got Jim Harbaugh now in the AFC West. We all know he is all about being physical, and so the Kansas City Chiefs have better be ready for that. At least those two teams are coming to be physical, and that's going to be what it is in that AFC West, especially for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Denver Broncos, it looks like Sean Payton is going to want to match firepower with the Kansas City Chiefs. Good luck with that. It hasn't worked for a whole lot of other teams, but at least the Raiders and the Chargers are going to turn this thing into a physical game. They're trying to turn this conference into that division into a physical conference. And the Kansas City Chiefs better be ready. They better button up their chin straps when they go against those two teams. But rounding off what I thought was the top 5 best picks in this first round was Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame, going to the Chargers. I think that's a good fit, and that's a way to support your top-of-the-line quarterback. Just want to throw this fact out here. Since we are ODing on quarterbacks, here are some of the facts. Since the draft really began in 1967, of the 130 quarterbacks taken in the first round, all right, the entire first round, only 61, less than half of those quarterbacks have won a playoff game. Only 58 of them have been in a Pro Bowl. 13 out of those 130 quarterbacks won a Super Bowl. So that's what we're looking at. And we are ODing more than ever on quarterbacks. They're going to be, I'm just like, history is saying here, there are going to be some unhappy people. There are probably going to be some fired GMs there. And there are going to be some fired coaches over some of these picks that were made, mainly the quarterbacks, in this first round of the NFL draft. And again, I'm big on fit, so I thought I would do this exercise as I close out this rapid reaction. Since it's about fit, like I said, 6 quarterbacks taken in this first round. Where would I, just based on what I know, the offenses and the teams to be in the NFL that drafted these quarterbacks and what I have observed that these quarterbacks were in their college career, I'm going to reposition where each one of these guys were taken and send them to the team where I think they would have been the best fit. So I'm going to start with Atlanta, who took Penix, and let's right there. The word on the street, all right, if you believe word on the street, and when I say word on the street, a lot of times that's Twitter, but anyway, the word on the street is that Kirk Cousins was a little blindsided by the pick of Michael Penix in the first round by the Atlanta Falcons. What does that say? You just gave this guy $180 million. 100 of that is going to be guaranteed. Kirk Cousins continues to fleece the NFL. He's coming off an Achilles injury. What have they seen? What do they know? and what would lead them to take a guy like Michael Penix, who's coming into this league 23. I believe he turns 24 this year. How long are you asking that guy to sit behind a Kirk Cousins? Or are you secretly saying, we might need to play this guy right now? That is a weird situation for him to come in. Here's who I think Atlanta, out of the guys, and I'm just talking about the guys that are picked, irregardless of where they were picked, I thought Atlanta would be better off, if that's the move that they were going to make, by taking a guy like Drake May. Already said he's considered to be a bit of a project. He has a high upside. This is a guy from the South anyway. Probably would fit in well there in the Atlanta fit, which, by the way, though, with the Michael Penix, black quarterbacks in Atlanta, a largely black city, a largely black following, Penix will have a long leash there with the fans. All right. I'm just letting you guys know that ahead of time, but probably the better fit there would have been a Drake May. And the reason that I say that is not one guy better than the other. Again, I'm talking all about fit, is that May is considered a project. He's a guy that probably is going to need to sit for a little while, and that would have been okay given the scenario where you've brought in a veteran like a Kirk Cousins that you expect to get at least 1 or 2 years out of. And Drake May could have learned from this veteran, picked up some really great things, and there's not a pressurized situation as it seems we are going to have with Penix now there with Kirk Cousins. It already seems like that's what it's going to be. So I would have known a May, a guy that it's going to make sense to give some time there, and you're going to have a pretty good upside. And if you're a guy that needs to develop like a May, it would have really been good for him to be around a Kirk Cousins. The Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, we've known this for months, even half a year, that this was going to happen. Who do I think they should have picked as a quarterback? I think the best fit for them would have been a J.J. McCarthy. Do you make that pick number 1 overall? No. If I'm Chicago, I don't do that. I get a really good idea where J.J. McCarthy is going to get picked, and I would have picked up I would have held that number 1 overall pick at ransom. There's no telling what the Chicago Bears could have gotten to pull back a few spots out of that number 1 overall pick. They could have provided all types of support for whoever they picked at quarterback, but I thought the best pick for them would have been a J.J. McCarthy. Why? Because he is going to go to the Chicago Bears and probably be running something really, really close to what it is that he did as a quarterback in college football. I think on Michigan, Chicago is more of a closer type of fit, and I thought that the Chicago Bears were kind of looking at going after a Jim Harbaugh when it was, out there that he was going to move to the NFL. So I think J.J. McCarthy, cold weather quarterback, run first type system, heavily on the O-line, plays defense. I thought that would be a better fit. Denver going with Bo Nix, I actually think that was the best pick for them. That closely fits what it is Sean Payton has been used to, and so I think they're good there. Minnesota getting McCarthy, I thought they would have been better off getting a Daniels, but I do think Minnesota's good with the J.J. McCarthy. I think that's going to work out. I think that'll be fine there for them. But a better pick there, though, would be Daniels, a little closer to what it is he did in college, even though I think he'll be fine as a Washington Commander. But I thought he'd fit well in there coming into a situation where they've got weapons already and he could have just been a plug and play. I thought that would have been a better move there. In terms of the New England Patriots, they would have been better off, in my opinion, not taking a quarterback in that first round or moving way down to get one. I thought maybe they could have used their high first round pick to either get more or get yourself a weapon that would be great for whoever you got a quarterback. So even like getting a Brock Bowers, getting a tight end, which is, we know, a quarterback's best friend, would have probably been the best move for the New England Patriots. So I can't even match any of these quarterbacks with them because, as I said in the open, I don't know what that offense is going to be. And so you're throwing a quarterback in there without knowing what it is. Good thing Drake May has to sit a little bit. Maybe he can sit there and let whatever that offense is going to be develop into that, and then you plug him into it. And finally, Washington, instead of a Daniels, I thought maybe a Caleb Williams. Hell, his offensive coordinator from college is there. That probably would have been a better fit. He's from Washington. Who knows if that's a good thing or a bad thing, whatever. But I think he would have, in terms of a fit, it doesn't get any better than that. You are sticking with the guy that was your offensive coordinator in college. So the fit and it would have been seamless, a seamless transition for Caleb Williams. And so that just stands to reason that would have been a better fit there. All right, that's it for me on this rapid reaction. Hope you guys enjoy it. Would love to see your comments down below. I'm looking forward to doing more of these. Chad Wilson, Two Chums Football Podcast. I'm out.